Hey everyone, and welcome to the Dice Tower. My name is Chris. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the solo rules included with the Secrets and Soirees expansion for the this Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig. Almost got it. It's okay. So the original game did not have solo rules in it. It was 3 to 7 players with a 2-player variant. This is 2 to 8 players with 2 solo variants. So let me show you how the 2 different solo modes are played, and then I'll give you my thoughts on them. So I've got set up here the main solo variant for Between Two Castles, Secrets and Soirees. What you'll notice here is that there's going to be the Automa deck and a little bit of a help aids and stuff here. This is going to be the castle that the 2 Automa opponents are building together, right? You have to imagine that you are sitting here and that there are 2 computer players, 2 Automa players here. Therefore, I am building one castle together with Roberta von Links. Links is German for left. And another one, I'm building this castle here with Roberta von Rechts. Rechts is German for right. So my left and my right. And these 2 players, the 2 Automa, are also building together their own castle. So how this works is that we're going to play over 6 hands of 9 tiles each. Instead of simulating simultaneous draft, we're going to basically have this hand that we are going to be picking. First, Roberta von Links and I are each going to add a tile to our castles. Next turn, Roberta von Recht and I are each going to be adding a tile to each castle. And then when it is technically what's considered my turn, I will look at the remaining tiles and I'll get to add 2 of them to my castle. So what does that look like? Let's do this. So Roberta von Links is gonna go first, right? So I'm building with them. You'll also notice that there's some little stuff up here. This will make sense in a second. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the blue and the white castle. I use these pieces to determine kind of which piece I am hoping to grab. So maybe I'd be happy grabbing this one or this one here. So I'm going to flip over the card and I see, okay, first things first, we're going to be adding the castle to the Automa, adding the tile to the Automa castle only. The first thing that you'll see here are some objectives that they're working towards. In this case, they want to get 5 of a kind. So whichever one they have the most of, leading up to 5, is the tile that they'll grab. Well, in this case, that's any of them, because they are equally far away from 5, so they are all valid choices. So then we go down here to the number 1 to the right. So we start on the leftmost space and we start counting over, looping around if we need to, until we find the tile they're going to grab. In this case, the first tile, so they have a music chamber now. And then we'll look here and see, okay, well, the blue piece is the tile that I'm going to add to my castle. So remember, I'm working on the left first. So that's that. These pieces will come together. And now it is my turn to work with Roberta von Recht. So they're going to be building up the Automa castle, and I'm going to be building up this one here on the side. So I'm going to go ahead and choose and say, I would really like this one over here, and I'd be happy with this chamber. So now we're going to flip over the Automa deck, and we see, okay, so any chamber, or anything that they have 0 of is eligible. Just for example's sake, we'll see here. So they want to try and grab diversity. So they already have one of these sleeping chambers, so this sleeping chamber is not eligible for them to grab, whereas all these other ones are fine because they have 0 of them. So now we're going to count 4 to the side. So 1, 2, skipping, because not eligible, 3, 4, okay? So they grabbed this one, and they're going to go ahead and put this in their outside area here. And now I grab, right, I put the 2 markers out because it said, hey, I would be happy with either of these 2. The card said that I would grab the white tile, the castle that I assigned the tile that I assigned the white castle to, which is now gone, so I'm going to take the other one instead. So I'll be taking the blue one and adding this over here, which, hey, right, remember I said I would be happy with either of these 2. So now it's going to be what's considered my turn. Now that it's my turn, I'm going to add 1 tile to each the left and my right castle. And I'm going to go ahead and do this one here because I like that, and then this one because that looks brilliant, right? And now it's back to Roberta von Links, and there's 3 tiles left, so I'm going to say these 2, we flip over the card, and we do the same type of thing. Is there anything that they're working towards 5 of? Well, not in this particular lineup. So now how about preference, right? They have preference for these 2 types of rooms. Oh, there's none of them. So that means all of these are eligible. We count 6 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they add this food room, and then I'll get what would have been the tile indicated with a white castle. And instead I'm going to do this one here. So that looks great, right? So that is the first hand, and now this turn progresses over here, and we're going to be adding out, the one remaining tile gets discarded, and we'll be adding out another set of 9 tiles. So you'll simply be doing this 6 times, the first 3, and then you'll flip these over to the round 2 side, and then you'll be going through the last 3 stacks of tiles, and you count up score just like you do in a normal game. Your left and your right castle, whichever one has the lower value, so if this was 80 and if this was 75, my score would be 75. And then you're going to add up the scoring of the Atama's castle over here. And the way that they score is they get points based on how many tiles of the same kind they have. So if they had 4 sleeping chambers at the end of the game, 1, 2, 3, 4, you see right here per this chart, that's 4 points. If they have 5 or more of a type of chamber, they get 9 points per that. If they have 2 or fewer, then they get 0 points. Also, they will earn additional points if you for having variety. So if they have 7 different types of rooms in their castle, they'll get 10 points. If they have all 8 different types of rooms, they'll get 13 points. And if you want to increase the challenge, then you can give them more starting points to kind of work against already. And you can even, at higher challenge levels, give them starting tiles so they already have something to work with, something to play against. So that's how you play the first solo mode. Let me show you the second one now, where you build your own castle. Now here's the setup for what's called the introvert variant, where you're going to be building up your own castle only, and then the computer opponent's going to be playing up their own castle. How this one works, you only have 1 marker indicating which tile you're hoping to grab for yourself, and then the computer player, the Atama, is going to grab a tile as well each round. So you deal 8 rounds of 5 tiles each. You set out 1 of them in front of you, and then let's say that I'm hoping to grab this tile for myself. You'll flip over the same Atama deck, but now only these spaces here that have these little triangles indicated on the side, that's the only thing that's going to matter more. So this top part only matters for those secret chambers, which are new to this expansion, what type of room they're going to be, should the computer grab one of them. But this one over here indicates that they're going to grab the first eligible tile for them. Now in the introvert variant, what are the eligible tiles? The eligible tiles are anything, first of all, that they have 2 through 4 of. So if they have all equal numbers across, then they want to grab anything, especially if they have 0 of anything. If they don't have 2 of something, then they're just going to equally grab from the first hand here. So they're going to grab 1 tile over. So starting at the left and counting, same type of thing as in the other variant. So they're going to go ahead and build this up. There you go. And then I will build the tile that I indicated. And then we'll just do this again. I'm hoping to build up this one, and the computer player now flips this one over, and they're looking 6 cards over. Once again, all of these are eligible tiles to them, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they'll grab this one, add it to the castle, and then I get this one. The last one is discarded, and then you deal out another one of these series of 5 tiles. And you're just going to do this through all 8 rounds. Now, where it does become interesting is when you have different types of chambers that the computer has, or the Atama player has multiples of. So in this case here, with this particular hand, I know for a fact that the Atama has 2 food rooms and 2 sleeping chambers. There are 2 sleeping chambers available right here. So these are the only chambers that the Atama is going to be going for. So maybe I'll place the marker over here on one of them, or if I put it somewhere else, whatever tile I indicate that I want to grab for myself also becomes eligible for the Atama to grab. So I'm going to indicate this one here, the passageway. So now this says 9 steps over. So this is eligible. this is eligible, and then this is eligible. These two are not for the computer player because they don't have 2 through 4 of this type of tile. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the Atama player is going to go ahead and grab the tile that I had indicated that I wanted, right? But now, because it's gone, I get to choose any one of these chambers that I wish to. So I'll go ahead and I'll do this one. And then you play out again. And so I'm going to indicate the sleeping chamber because I know that this is the only chamber that they're going to get. You flip this tile over, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Counting 4 spaces over. But this is the only thing that they're eligible to grab, so they get it. But then I get my choice of whatever I want. And so that can be done to try and prevent the computer player from getting too many of the same tile, or to maybe benefit and to be able to guarantee choosing any tile. So yeah, there's a little bit more control in this variant. You play through the 8 hands, and then there's a very similar type of scoring at the end, where if the Atama has multiples of the same type of room, that they'll score more points, 0, 4, or 9. And then also for variety, if they have 7 of the different chambers, 10 points. If they have 8 of the different types, then 13. And then you can also go ahead and increase the difficulty by giving them more base points to start with, and or extra tiles, and whoever has the most points wins in the introvert variant. So I'll be honest, when I first saw that there was no Atama, or no solo mode in the original Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig, I thought, well, that only makes sense, right? It's a very interactive game. You are working with the players on both of your sides to try and build the best castles for each of you. And I think that that is a really fantastic, a really interesting dynamic that isn't captured in too many other games, besides the original Between Two Cities, of course. But I like that idea of kind of colluding with each player to your side and still trying to do best equally between the two. When I saw that there was a solo mode in this expansion, I thought, well, maybe I'm less than excited to try, but I know that the people over at the Atama factory that Stonemaier Games works with have done really clever things. And their Atamas have come a long way in the years that they've been working with them. And, you know, this is a really smooth little Atama system. It's very smooth, but it doesn't perfectly recreate that idea of that working with each other person. You just can't. But I like what they've done. Out of the 2 modes, I think that if you enjoy just straight up building an interesting puzzle with, hey, rooms that score off of each other, you're probably going to want to play that simplified Atama variant. It's hard to show, right? In the first half of the game, it feels like you're not really in control of much. It's just a random tile pull. But as you start getting into that 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th hand, where you place that one marker, making certain tiles eligible, becomes a more interesting decision. And I kind of like that. But it's still based off of luck, and you're just hoping that whatever tile is left over is a good one to add. Personally, I think I liked the full Atama variant more, where you're building the 2 castles, and that's because I'm really a sucker for that, building the 2 castles, trying to put equal care and attention into both of them, and trying to make them as equally high of points as possible, because if one is 80 points and the other is 30, your score is 30. So I think that captures a little bit more of the spirit of the game, at least for me. Now, the Atamas are not terribly difficult to run, which I was worried about. I like a lot that the 3rd castle that you as the human player have no interaction with is just stacks. I'm really grateful that there's no decisions for me to make on behalf of it. I don't have to try and make connections or adjacencies. Is it just a clever way then of causing a movable score target that you're competing against? Well, yes. I think that in that main variant, or the Between Two Castles regular kind of play variant, it does feel more like it's just a score that I'm playing against, and that score might be a little higher or a little lower, but it does feel at least a little dynamic, and I enjoy that gamble. I didn't think that I was going to love it. That gamble of, I put the blue and the white castle markers somewhere, and I'm going to be forced to draw one of these 2 tiles for my shared castle. And then whatever the Atama card flips over, that will go to the shared stack. You don't have a lot of control over that. But I like the gamble, right? Because the card will either show blue or white. And so yeah, I don't have terribly much control of what gets added to that castle, but that is kind of like working with the person next to you. You don't know what tile they're going to add to the castle and say, okay, let's make this and your choice work. What it does is it makes the experience feel more asynchronous, where instead of revealing the tiles all at the same time, right, you get one turn out of every 3. First Roberta von Links, then Roberta von Recht, and then me. And what that's kind of doing is you're playing the hands asynchronously. And so I do get to choose, out of every 3 turns, 2 tiles to straight up say, I want this one to go here, I want this one to go there. So it gives me enough agency, and I kind of work with that swing, that wildness of what's going to happen, the blue or the white tile that I chose, flip over card, oh, the white one gets added over here. And the next round it could be the blue or the white one, so I got to make do the best that I can. I can see why this would be a little too much overhead, though, for what is otherwise a fairly simple game. So I think that including that simplified Atama variant is going to be perhaps more appealing to more people, especially the people that don't want to build between the 2 castles. But at the end of the day, what are you doing here then, if you don't like that idea of building the 2 and scoring the lowest between them? This is the hard thing, is if you enjoy this game already, maybe you'll like having the little puzzle, and maybe you'll enjoy that simplified Atama because you do actually have a little bit more control with that one castle marker. What the opponent's castle will get, you have a little more say in it. It's still lucky, depending on the card flip, but it lets you puzzle out your castle. But if you're not a huge fan of the base game, and you're a solo gamer saying, should I try this one out? I don't know if I could recommend it to you. So for solo play, that makes this expansion a little bit hard. I like it. I'll continue to play it every once in a while, but there's other better solo games that I'd rather pull out. So I'm kind of in a hard place here where I think it's well made, it's competent, it's a smart way to do it. I think it has a very limited audience. Me as a big fan of the game, I'm already kind of saying, well, how often am I really going to pull this one out for solo play? I like the interactivity of this game so much, so I can't exactly recommend it for most people, but I like what it offers. I'm going to give the solo mode for this a 6.5 because it does give me a target to play against. It's a win-lose condition, and in the multiple castle version, I still get that tension of building up the 2 castles. But like I said, I think it's a great idea that they chose 2 different modes so that people can play what they prefer out of the 2. Anyway, that's my thoughts. I hope that gives you a better idea if this is something worth for you to pick up or not. But it does involve buying a base game and an expansion to play solitaire, so it might be too big of an investment. So anyway, that's my thoughts. My name is Chris Yee from the Dice Tower. Thank you so much for coming by, and have a great day.